Ray Brown's Talking Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
And by Vortex Optics with the VIP warranty, their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
And by Brome, where bird feeding meets innovation. Discover truly squirrel-proof bird feeders, all backed by lifetime care commitment. Learn more at brome.com.
Afternoon or evening, and welcome to our show, number 988. It appears we're talking about the great state of Oregon again today, as we've done a couple of times recently. Although this time the story isn't about Oregon, rather from Oregon. The Salem Reporter newspaper, salemreporter.com. Headline of the article by Harry Fuller says, "Artificial intelligence doesn't know much about Oregon birds." The story refers to a book that is or was available on Amazon called Birds of Oregon, ostensibly written by someone called Vivek Coker, but really created apparently through the use of AI. The book has a photo of a beautiful bird on the cover, a European goldfinch, a bird that, according to the Oregon Bird Records Committee, has been reliably identified in the state a grand total of 0 times. Ever. Well, we have 2 audio postcards this morning, including one from the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, and starting with one from Chris on a trail in Tennessee that he recorded early in May. Hey there, Chris.
Hey, Ray and Talking Birds listeners. This is Chris Stafford, one of the many proud Talking Birds ambassadors. I finally got my first morning to do some spring migration birding, and I've ended up at the Ronnie Bowers Wetland Trail here in Chapel Hill, Tennessee at Henry Horton State Park. Finally got out here, got out of my car, and the first thing I see is 2 gorgeous common yellowthroats just sitting on some reeds talking back and forth to each other. I just wanted to say thank you again for your show and everything you do, and I hope you and your listeners find some time to just breathe, relax, get away from work and life for a little bit, get out on the trail. Hopefully you get to see something amazing this spring too. Thank you. And he's just talking away.
He is. Thank you, Chris, for that sweet audio postcard from Tennessee. By the way, in just a few minutes, our featured feathered friend will be here. It's a bird named after a city in Tennessee. Right now, we're going to sashay all the way to South America, where our own Debbie Bleacher is looking at and listening to some very cool birds.
Hi, I am in Manicapuru in Amazonas, Brazil, and I'm listening for birds not too long after dawn. So I'm hearing bluish-gray saltator, house wren, yellow-crowned tarantulet, brown-crested flycatcher. Usually there are a lot of great kiskadee. I am not hearing them right now. And it's just a wonderful chorus to wake up to. Thanks for coming with me. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Debbie. Everybody's getting into the act here. And we have room for more audio postcards. If you have a smartphone or can borrow one and plan to look at some birds in Brazil or your backyard or anyplace else, we invite you to make an audio postcard and send it to us. Just record yourself describing what you're seeing for maybe 30 seconds to a minute and send the resulting file to this email address, ray@talkingbirds.com. That's ray@talkingbirds.com. And that semi-beautiful sound there is our mystery bird. And this is a little preview of our mystery bird contest coming along a bit later in the show. Our mystery bird is a large member of the icterid family with a keel-shaped tail and yellow eyes. The male, black overall with a kind of a metallic purple and green sheen. The female, a little less glossy than the male. Our bird breeds over most of the U.S. except for the far western states, found year-round in almost the entire eastern half of the U.S. and most of Canada. It's an omnivore, foraging for seeds and insects and also feeding on fish and fruit, bird eggs, and bird nestlings. That's our mystery bird. We'll do the contest in just a bit, and prizes await, including our newest mystery bird contest prize. It's a one-year subscription to the new birding magazine, BWD. Founded in 1978 as Birdwatchers Digest, it's back and better than ever, and we have an entire year's subscription. Plus, because birding is a wildlife, though you shouldn't have to sacrifice style for comfort, we have a $25 gift certificate for Bird Collective, your one-stop shop for vintage-inspired apparel and unique accessories, all featuring birds. A couple of prizes there, and if we get to our bonus question, we have a feather-friendly bird window collision kit as that prize. And we'll be doing the Mystery Bird Contest in just a little bit later in the show. We love our Talking Birds ambassadors, more than 875 of them now, listeners who step up and help us spread the word about our show and what we're trying to do, and that is to get the word out about the wonder of birds and the vital importance of conservation. We'll explain how to do it if you haven't heard in just a minute. Welcoming and saying thank you to a new ambassador who goes by the nickname Sweet Bee from San Diego, California. Sweet Bee says, I'm new to birding, love your show, and I'm always wanting to learn more about birds. Well, we love to learn, too, and we'll certainly do that this morning, as we'll explain in a moment. Thank you, Sweet Bee. To become a Talking Birds ambassador, pretty easy. Just go to talkingbirds.com. That's talkingbirds.com.
There's no G in talking.
No G in there. And then just go to the Get Involved tab at the top of the page, and we'll send you some of those cards for you to hand out at your convenience. So, speaking of learning, still to come on our show today, a man who has taught people all over the world about birds and written numerous books and guides about them. The great Kenn Kaufman will be our guest, talking about his newest book, The Birds That Audubon Missed. Also today, Mike O'Connor from the legendary Birdwatchers General Store in Cape Cod will join us for a Let's Ask Mike live segment on the subject of creatures climbing up to birds' nests and what can be done about it, answering a listener's question about that. And up next, one of the many birds that are arguably misnamed is today's featured feathered friend. Could we have a little Nashville music, please? Today's featured feathered friend, the Nashville Warbler, doesn't breed in Nashville or in any other part of Tennessee. So why the Nashville name? Well, because the great Scottish-American ornithologist Alexander Wilson first saw the bird there in 1811 as it migrated through, and he named it accordingly. We'll hear the name Alexander Wilson again, by the way, in today's show. The Nashville is a small warbler with an olive green back and wings with no wing bars. It has a bright yellow breast and upper belly and a white lower belly. Its gray hood extends to its upper back, and there's a small, hard-to-see chestnut crown patch, and it has a white eye ring. As for where the Nashville Warbler does breed, it's mostly across the northeast and north-central parts of the U.S., as well as parts of the far northwest, and down into California and most of Canada. Wintering grounds are in Mexico and a smallish area of Central America. A brighter plumaged western population is called the Calaveras warbler, and it was once considered to be a separate species. Nashville warblers feed mostly on insects that they glean from foliage, and they're known for coming to backyards where suet is available. And when nesting, they're said to sometimes make an interesting choice for nest lining material: porcupine quills. Today's Talking Birds featured feathered friend, Oreothlipis rufa capilla, the Nashville Warbler. By the way, playing that Nashville music? The Byrds. They're not from Nashville either. Welcome again to our show, number 988. If we've made any mistakes on our show today, probably our guest today will surely be able to straighten us out about that. He's Kenn Kaufman, a renowned birder, naturalist, author, artist, photographer, and lecturer, and a man committed to wildlife conservation. His newest book is called The Birds That Audubon Missed, Discovery and Desire in the American Wilderness. Kenn Kaufman, and he joins us now to talk about it. Good morning, Ken.
Hello, Ray. Good to see you.
It's great to have you back on the show after a pretty long absence. So The Birds That Audubon Missed, Discovery and Desire in the American Wilderness. What can you tell us about that title, Ken, and how it came to be?
Well, the title doesn't totally describe what the book is about. You know, we were looking for something that was intriguing and that was sort of connected to it. Mm-hmm. It's a book about discovery and the guys who were running around trying to discover birds new to science, mostly in eastern North America in the early 1800s. And the thing that got me into it in the first place was the fact that John James Audubon was trying really hard, and he painted more than 400 bird species, but he missed a few common birds. For example, Swainson's thrush is a really common migrant through eastern North America, but it wasn't even described to science until the 1840s, after Audubon had finished his Birds of America.
You write about other birding pioneers in addition, Ken, to John James Audubon, Alexander Wilson, George Ord, Charles Bonaparte, William Bartram, and others who made a lot of great discoveries and a lot of mistakes as well, including identification and classification. In fact, it took a long time for the idea that birds might be grouped into families to be figured out, right?
That's right, and that was something I wasn't really aware of until I started into the research on this book. You know, we're so accustomed to thinking of, that's a member of the finch family, and that's a member of the warbler family. But the original Linnaean classification system didn't even have that category. It didn't really come into use until about the 1820s.
So they were grouped in a much broader way, right, for a long time, kind of in orders maybe, but without the family part.
That's right. There'd be this huge order of birds, of perching birds, and then different genera. You know, each bird, separated out into the genus or genera of birds, and so you'd have things that were wildly unrelated, like hummingbirds and kingfishers and crows and so on, all lumped in the same order.
Well, many folks don't know the names of the pioneers we've been talking about, but birders certainly know the name Audubon, as you point out in your book. And I wonder, Ken, if you would read a couple of paragraphs about that explain why he looms so large compared to his contemporaries or near contemporaries. They're on page 139 in the book.
Okay, right. Well, this is from a chapter talking about how there was friction between some of these guys when they got together in Philadelphia. So when modern birders in the U.S. think about bird study in the early 1800s, if they do at all, they think of Audubon first and last. His flamboyant, outrageous personality and his outsized drawings are enough to suck all the oxygen out of the subject, leaving other ornithologists as footnotes. Thus, Alexander Wilson may come across as pallid and two-dimensional. We may give a nod to his pioneering publication, but we forget the bold audacity of his work, his keen powers of perception, his poetic sense. George Ord fares worst of all because he shows up mainly in Audubon biographies, where he enters the stage as the bad guy, the harshest critic. Seldom mentioned is the fact that almost all his criticisms of Audubon were accurate and justified.
Yes, a lot of criticism going on there, a lot of biting wit on all sides there. In many cases, very human stuff. Ken, at the end of most of the book's chapters, you have a section called Interlude: Channeling the Illustrators. Tell us a bit about that, if you would.
Right. Well, that was. I got interested in the fact that, Audubon and Wilson and his contemporaries had missed some of these birds, so he didn't paint some of them. And I started to wonder if Audubon had done a painting of something like a Kirtland's warbler or a Philadelphia vireo what would that have looked like? And I've been drawing and painting birds all my life, but my style is really different from Audubon's. So I started in just to imitate his style. And I described that in the book in a series of short interludes where I talked about, okay, what was Audubon's approach? What materials did he use? How did he go about getting his details? And I attempted to do Audubon-style paintings of these birds. And basically, I failed miserably to actually achieve his level of portrayal of these birds. My best work couldn't really match his worst, but it was very educational to try.
Well, when I look at the drawings and your paintings in the book, I must humbly disagree with you about your failing to capture the magic and the beauty of birds. Is one where there's a picture or an illustration next to an Audubon illustration where your bird just has such energy, such kinetic energy to it. And you kind of shot me down about that in my preference. So I'll leave it to readers to make their own decision about that. Ken, getting back, we're getting close to being out of time here, but when I think of Audubon, the word fraudster comes to mind. In addition to the many complimentary terms, he made up his own birds. For example, the bird of Washington. What about that bird? Non-bird.
Yeah, the bird of Washington. That was when Audubon was struggling to get his publication started in England. And he had this painting of a young bald eagle, and he decided to say, well, this isn't a bald eagle. This is a bigger bird. It's the most noble bird in North America. And he named it for George Washington. That was about 50 years after the American Revolution. And so the English had gotten over being mad about it. So they were sort of fascinated with Washington, and they loved this idea. So the bird of Washington became sort of a celebrity in England before the scientists in North America had a chance to really take a look.
Just amazing. We are just about out of time. Ken, before we go, I just have to ask you this, since the word Audubon is being spoken of so much here. Birding groups and Audubon chapters are changing their names and removing that of Audubon from their identity. Where do you think this is all going?
I think there's a general move away from having birds or places or organizations named after people, because there's a real push now to make birding more welcoming for everyone. And almost everyone, there's so many heroes of birding who also have dark sides and things that aren't so admirable. So I just think that eventually we're going to wind up with names that are just totally welcoming to everyone and don't put anyone off.
And descriptive, maybe, too, in many cases.
Descriptive, exactly, yeah.
Kenn Kaufman's must-read book is The Birds That Audubon Missed, Discovery and Desire in the American Wilderness. Ken, I just have this feeling that if you had been around in the 19th century, a lot of this would have been straightened out much sooner. You probably won't agree.
Well, maybe. You think about the challenges they faced. It must have been a really interesting time.
Indeed. Ken, congratulations on the book, and thanks for being on the show.
Well, thanks a lot, Ray.
Kenn Kaufman here on Talking Birds. And up next, it's our Mystery Bird contest in just 1 minute. The flutter of a tail feather, the flash of a wing bar in mid-flight. You don't always have a lot of time to identify a bird in nature, let alone to appreciate its beauty. But with Vortex Optics, you'll have the power to bring every wild moment closer. When you choose Vortex, you're choosing to have a partner in the field as passionate about nature as you are. Whether you're spotting old friends on the backyard feeder or packing for a once-in-a-lifetime trip to add a few species to your life list, Vortex offers a full range of optics and optics accessories for every birder and every budget. And whether the birds are taking you to another state or another country, you're always covered by the Vortex VIP warranty, an unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. If you'd like to learn more, or if you need help choosing your next optic, give Vortex a call at 1-800-4VORTEX or visit vortexoptics.com. It's a familiar sound to many. It's our mystery bird. Here are some clues about our bird on our Mystery Bird Contest. I'll give you the phone number right now so you'll have it ready, because we always run out of time or come close to it. So the quicker we can get to your calls, the better. And the number is 781-837-4900. Again, that's 781-837-4900. We'll give the number again in a moment. Our mystery bird is a large member of the icterid family with a keel-shaped tail and yellow eyes. The male is black overall with a metallic purple and green sheen. The female, a little less glossy than the male. Our bird breeds over most of the U.S., except the far western states, found year-round in almost the entire eastern half of the U.S. and most of Canada. It's an omnivore, foraging for seeds and insects and also feeding on fish and fruit and bird eggs and even bird nestlings. And it's our mystery bird, and beautiful prizes await, including that $25 gift certificate for Bird Collective, your one-stop shop for vintage-inspired apparel and unique accessories, all featuring birds. And our newest Mystery Bird Contest prize, a one-year subscription to the new birding magazine, BWD, founded back in 1978 as Birdwatchers Digest, and back and better than ever. So wonderful prizes, and you've heard the clues and the sound. Now just give us a call, 781-837-4900. If you don't know the answer exactly, that might be okay, because the drawing will determine our winner in that case. 781-837-4900. Meanwhile, Mike O'Connor will attempt to answer a listener's question. Oh, and let's ask Mike live in just 1 minute.
Welcome to a world where bird feeding is enjoyable for both you and your feathered friends. Introducing Squirrel Buster Bird Feeders by Brome. Our innovative feeders are designed to keep squirrels at bay, ensuring that your garden birds get their fair share. And the best part? We offer lifetime care for every feeder, making your purchase worry-free. Transform your garden into a bird paradise and keep it that way forever. Sorry, squirrels, it's just for the birds this time. Visit Brome.com, BROME.com, to discover our full range of Squirrel Buster feeders and join the Brome family today. Brome, where birds come first, and our commitment to you lasts a lifetime.
Mike O'Connor is down there on sunny Cape Cod, the Birdwatchers General Store. We have a note from a listener at another sunny place. Mike will say it's not as sunny as Cape Cod, I'm sure, but let's find out. Good morning, Mike.
Oh, good morning, Ray. What do we got? We got a note from a listener?
That's right. In Tallahassee, Florida. I think they have a little sun down there from time to time.
Panhandle country, right?
That's right. That's the Florida Panhandle. Capital of the state there. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Centrally located way up in north.
Way up north in Florida. We have this is from Emily Rain. She's one of our Talking Birds ambassadors, and she lives in Tallahassee, and she says she has hanging ferns on her front porch, and the house finches love to build their nests in those ferns. She's had several successful broods, but this year, she says, has been rough, because the first brood hatched but was eaten by what looked like a cat or raccoon because the nest was pulled out of the ferns. Today, she says, she discovered a second brood. The eggs were missing totally, but the nest was completely intact. She suspects a snake got to these eggs. What do you say, Mike?
CSI Tallahassee. I got that. Yeah, I got that one. First of all, yeah, that's a problem. Bird eggs are fair game, and there's a lot of creatures hungry right now, so they go out and steal them. And as much as we get upset about it, that's just part of the thing, except for the cat thing. Please, I hope it's not a cat. I hope people in that area don't let their cats out. But, yeah, it sounds like a raccoon to me, the first one. I vote for that. Second one, I don't really think there's a snake's a possibility, but I saw in the note that you sent to Ray that you had the egg shells on the ground, picture of those, and probably a snake would have swallowed the eggs whole, so you probably wouldn't find shells. So my guess is the perpetrator is perhaps a chipmunk, perhaps a grackle or a jay or a red-bellied woodpecker, a cowbird. A lot of birds look for bird eggs and put them in their diet, just like we put eggs in our diet. What you should do about it? Well, if it becomes you probably should either, A, not to put the ferns back there, because that's going to encourage more failed nestings, or put something in the fern that prevents the bird from building a nest. A lot of times they build it in that little cup that creates when you put a hanging plant there. Put something in it so they can't actually build their nest. That'll prevent them from doing that. Now, I know you like to see the birds nesting there, but you also don't like seeing them fail. So I would either take the ferns down or put something that prevents the nest, or at least move it to a different location where perhaps a raccoon, if it was a raccoon, can get to it. But it's hard to keep birds out of there. So I would just stop them from nesting altogether. Now, house finches, we'd hate to see lose nests, but that's an extremely abundant bird that's been taking over most of the country. Started off, like when you were a kid, Emily, there were no house finches in Tallahassee. They've all spread throughout the east and the western part of the state. So they're not a struggling bird. So I think if you don't want to see any kind of that ugliness, I would just either move the fern or do something so they can't build a nest in there. That's it. Not a real happy story, but it was for whoever took the egg. Well, they had a good breakfast.
There you go. You just got to tell it like it is, Mike. That's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mike. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds like a good plan.
All right. Thank you, Emily, for your question, even though I think I forgot to ask him the last part about what can I do to protect these birds, but he figured that out. Mystery Bird Contest. We have very little time left, but give us a call if you can get through to us real quickly and identify our mystery bird at 781-837-4900. Jesse is holding up our whiteboard, and boy, do we have a new computer system that means pretty soon we won't use these whiteboards anymore, which is really good. Because I think it says Jeff, and he's in North Truro, Massachusetts. Am I right? Let's find out. Hello, Jeff. So far, that's not working out, but I hear some sounds in the background. Maybe he's connecting up there. Are you there, Jeff?
Hello. Yes, I am.
Hi, Jeff. You heard all the clues and all that. I think you did. Who knows? I think you might have heard all that stuff. What do you think?
I'm thinking it's a great-tailed grackle.
Great-tailed grackle. This is what we call a top-quality guess, but according to our trumpet soloist, not exactly right. We are so close to out of time. We don't normally have two guesses, but we would give you another guess if you'd like, because we're so close to being out of time here.
I will try a crow.
Crow.
It's kind of a similar.
Let me just say you were closer with your first guess. Now I'm going to help by saying it's not an uncommon bird. Would that help?
Okay.
Because you had it almost the first guess there.
A vulture.
No, think about your first. Think about what your first guess was. You remember your first guess, and then remember.
So maybe how about a common grackle?
How about a common grackle? Exactly, a common grackle is what we were looking for.
All right.
I knew you'd do it, Jeff. Thank you so much. Stay on the line, and we'll get your info and send you those prizes.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Correctly identifying the common grackle as our mystery bird. Our show is ending. That means we get to work on our next one, and we hope you'll join us for it. Thanks for being with us. See you next week.
The bird show. I like that. I love it.
Ray Brown's Talking Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
And by Vortex Optics with the VIP warranty, their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
And by Brome, where bird feeding meets innovation. Discover truly squirrel-proof bird feeders, all backed by lifetime care commitment. Learn more at brome.com.